Welcome to the Low Country Revolutionaries, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's vibrant entrepreneurial scene. I'm your host, Bill Bellott, founder of Veritas Exoscience, and each week we're spotlighting the boldest innovators from the Chucktown startup community. These are the visionaries pouring their heart and soul into the businesses that are transferring Charleston into a global hub of creativity and American ingenuity. Get ready for raw, real conversations with the trailblazers shaping our city's future. Let's dive in. I would like to welcome Donna and Scott Netzley. They started Sensible CFO and Consulting in October 2023 after they saw a market need. Large companies can afford to have a full-time CFO and controllers, but small to mid-sized companies usually can't afford full-time employees at the salary level, but they definitely need those services. So Donna and Scott, they provide fractional CFO, controller, and bookkeeping services for startup and businesses, which sounds awesome. So welcome, you guys. Let's get into this.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
No problem. So what's going on in the fractional CFO controller world? And you know, explain a little bit what that is. It's like, and here's the thing. I have heard the words controller, and I sort of know, well, no, I really don't know what a chief financial officer does compared to that. So please tell me and everybody else.
Well, sure. So we'll talk about on a full-time basis first. A CFO is really forward-looking. You're looking at the future and helping a business grow, helping them with things like cash flow, obtaining cash so they can grow into the future, looking at their sales and is an owner happy with their revenue, their income? Should they be making more income on the revenue that they have?
Right.
Do we want are we really bringing in the revenue we should? How do we grow it? CFO looks at those kind of things. Also looks at strategy, helping them with their strategic plan, helping them develop it, achieve it. Those kind of things. Obviously, budgeting, forecasting. You can set a budget in place, but a lot of times things change over the year, so you've got to revise it and then looking at each, from a reporting standpoint, looking at what you did versus what you expected to do, identifying key measurements, what we call KPIs, key performance indicators, and measuring those and seeing why you hit them, why you have it, so all that kind of thing. And I'll let Don explain what a controller does.
Okay.
So the controller is more looking at the performance in the past and currently. So the controller can do budgeting and cash forecasting as well, but it's more about once the budget is set, looking at those numbers every single month to see if you're meeting them, and then making the adjustments. You realize you're spending, $200 a widget when you should be spending $20 a widget, and that's how you can help the company just adjust for stuff like that. So it's just really overseeing the bookkeepers, making sure the books are accurate, making sure there's good internal controls, and reconciling the accounts and all those fun accounting things that nobody likes to do except for us geeks.
No, I mean, it's really important. I mean, especially if you do any work with the federal government, having compliance and having good books is like the number one thing where people go off the guardrails and get in trouble. So that's really cool. And, obviously you're super important, as businesses grow, because as the businesses grow, almost every business gets required to have a financial audit, especially an external one. So they're going to I assume they're going to come to you and say, okay, show me the books.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of times, so a CFO also will coordinate all those kind of things. Cool. They'll figure out, who the auditor should be, the tax people, if you don't have a tax person yourself. and they also, a lot of people don't realize that CFOs and sometimes controllers can do this. It depends on the level of the controller as far as what they can do, but identifying your insurance needs and
Right.
that's all part of what a CFO does as well. So
Oh,
there's
wow.
a lot of external people that you go get and go help and find with the business, identifying what kind of a medical insurance plan you might have.
Right.
Those are all, there's a lot of things that CFO does that people don't realize. And so then answering kind of the second part of your first question is, we are, as you said in the intro, we do it now for smaller businesses. You basically can't afford to have a full-time CFO, right? And so now we have a whole myriad of things that we can do, and they can either, some of them, the smaller they are, the less they probably need.
Right.
And so they're going to, choose a few things that you do, or you may be somebody that's more kind of close to the full-time CFO, but not quite there.
Yeah.
And they're going to maybe do everything that a CFO does, but just not 40 hours worth. It might be,
Right.
2 days a week, 1 day a week, something like that.
Additional
And
duties as assigned.
yeah, right, exactly, yeah. And then the smaller ones are maybe going to do, 10 hours a month, half a day a week, whatever it might be.
Right, right. So you guys can you be described as sort of like a la carte type services? So you go and talk to the business, say, okay, here's where we can help you, and this is that's why it's fractional, I guess. It's like, okay, we can do these.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like now we aren't trained salespeople, but just like, in essence, we have to be now, right?
Right.
And part of the sales process for a fractional, whether you're CFO, there's others too. There's CSO, sales guys, marketing guys, et cetera. There's a whole world of fractional.
Yeah.
So it's just not controller and CFO that are available. But part of that process is a discovery process.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to find out the kind of the needs of the business and where their pains are, like, what keeps them up at night, and that's all part of the discovery process. And then you figure out what you're going to do for them with that. And it also might take going there a few times you might find other things along the way too.
Absolutely.
We're actually later on today going first time on site for a new customer, and we're going to figure out what some of the things they need that might be different than what we already know from a couple phone calls.
Yep. That's I did consulting and I do consulting again, and that's really part of it. It's like you hear what you've been told on the phone or through email, but until you kind of get there and kind of see things, you really don't know for sure, because you often find there's other things behind what was said that are really the core issues. And I totally get what you're saying there. That makes a lot of sense to me. So, we've got a lot of startups in this area here. And, in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong, you tell me if I'm wrong, I would think one of the things that they're all kind of thinking about is like either how do I get more investment or how do I generate more revenue? What do you guys hear? Is that like the first questions they're kind of asking you, or is it something else? What's kind of like the driving need around this area that you've heard from others?
I think the biggest thing is probably cash flow. And so getting money certainly, is part of that.
Yeah.
And generating more sales as well. So the cash flow kind of incorporates a little bit of everything, right? It's also controlling your expenses. One of the first things you see when you go into a company is they're used to seeing what's in the financials, but now with a new perspective, you can look at it like, why is this so much?
Right.
Why are you spending so much on travel or whatever it might be, right? And just a different perspective, different set of eyes. And then sometimes it's legitimate because it's unique to their business. Other times it's like, you're right, that doesn't make sense. And then there's also, you might be spending too much in certain areas, and just by your experience, you right away identify that, you can get this for definitely for less.
Yeah. So let me ask you, kind of, this is a question that comes up. So how much, if you go into a business and you're looking at they're starting up or they're small, Yeah, one of the things that comes up a lot of times is like, so how much money should I spend on marketing? You know, because and not just marketing, but there are similar things like that. It's like, okay, here's something that's like, how do I know I'm getting a return on investment? And there are a lot of different things, and I'm picking on marketing because why not? And so how do you guys go in and look at that and say, okay, here's here's what you are doing right now. Here's what we're recommending you're doing. How does that conversation kind of go?
So that gets back into discovery again. And what is the purpose of your marketing?
Yeah.
What are you trying to accomplish with it?
Right.
And depending on how long, is this brand new now that they're just starting it? But if they've got some experience, has the spending brought you what you expected it to, right? And that could be that maybe they're not spending wisely or spending too much, but it also could be they're not using the right firm. Or maybe it's they're spending money on certain things within marketing, and maybe they should be in a different area. So there's a lot of questions and back and forth, and then really kind of digging into the details.
Right.
One of the nice things about me is so we did not come from here. We've been here 3 years.
Okay.
Came from Illinois. We were there 30 years. And so when I came down, I got they eliminated my position, and at that point I had 2 connections on LinkedIn in South Carolina. One was Donna, and the other one was friends that moved here 2 years before us. That's kind of how we ended up getting here. So so it's been about 2.5 years since then, and in about a year I was on the road for clients. So about a year and a half of staying down and having coffees, I've met something like 12 to 1,500 people.
Wow.
So it's all different disciplines. It's all people that are somehow connected to what I do, and it's it's other consultants, because we can all be we can be partners for each other and help each other find. But a fractional marketing guy is going to know if they need a fractional CFO.
Right.
An HR person's going to definitely know if they need a fractional CFO, right? So I've connected with those kind of people, and so I've known some of those kind of people. I also met all sorts of people that are lending money or investing money, or for startups and such. So I've met all sorts of those kind of people. So I'm out meeting people that can actually help my clients.
That's
and
awesome.
I look for that in when I'm meeting people. I go to a lot of different networking events, not as many as Frank Wells, but I go to quite a few, and so I'm kind of keeping that in mind as I'm meeting people. It's like, who would be good connections to help my clients going forward, and that's what will bring a lot of other CFOs, because you think about it, as you might be able to tell, I'm kind of an extroverted CFO. There aren't many of those.
No, not very many.
We're also building the business beyond just ourselves. I have a whole list of other CFOs that would like to do work for us, because that's not their strength. They're going out and finding clients,
right?
And doing the business development piece, which it is for me, and so that's this is kind of what our business plan is, as opposed to just doing it ourselves.
Yeah, I'm thinking, at some point you need to consider just adding in there, a fractional business development person, because, there may be a lot of people that can use your extroverted connections there to build their business besides the CFO portion of it. So something for a future to think about there, Scott.
So that's actually pretty funny that you say that, because I had a guy that I met with a year and a half ago, and I told him that we were doing CFO and bookkeeping, which at that point in time, that's all we were thinking about.
Right.
And he said, I just don't understand why you small businesses don't do everything in your sphere. It's like, why don't you have taxes, right? So that's been bugging me for a year and a half. In the meantime, Donna's background was controller, and we weren't even offering that to start with, so we added that.
Yeah.
We've also now, and this is something that we kind of stumbled into. Why don't you say that the other new thing that you're now doing?
So I'm doing private financial concierge. So
nice.
For high wealth individuals, just doing their personal stuff, keeping track of their income and expenses, reconciling their accounts, and really being the go-between with the CPA and their attorney and their wealth advisor and all that, because they have better things to do with their time. And I love doing it.
Really?
So, it's a lot of fun.
That's a really nice service. And I think, me and Scott, we had coffee before, and we were talking a little bit about this. And, here's the thing, what I saw out of this, and what popped in my head is like, we all have relatives, family members, moms, dads, uncles, whatever, that, could use some services like that. And, sometimes, I was telling Scott, so maybe the family could get together and, afford you guys kind of helping, guiding them through. Because that's the thing, as you get older, it's like sometimes you forget stuff, or sometimes you don't want to deal with it anymore. Let's just not even say forget. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I don't want to deal with bills. I don't want to deal with, I don't want to deal with the financial advisor. I don't want to deal, what can you do? And who can I trust to actually help me with this that won't rob me blind, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I've been doing that for my mom for 20 years since my dad passed. My mom, it's hard to believe that she turned me out, because my mother doesn't have a clue about money whatsoever. And so I just keep track of it, and I'll see something that I'll get, it'll flag it, and I'm like, okay, what was that? And she'll be like, she's 90 now, and so she's like, I gotta remember what it was. And and so it's like, it's nice doing it for the high wealth individuals, because it's kind of nice to see what they get to spend money on, but it's the other people that need it as well. And so that's the kind of stuff I enjoy. The bottom line is I like helping people. While we were raising a family, I spent the bulk of my time, when I wasn't shuttling kids around, doing volunteer work, and always using my accounting. I was a treasurer of different boards and stuff like that, because I just like helping people. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's nice to get paid, but the sense of helping people is kind of satisfaction enough for me.
Right.
So
yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that need that kind of help. What are you going to say, Scott?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, and then to bring it full circle, what I was talking about, that we were missing the tax piece.
Right.
And so we have someone that we're in discussion with now, and hopefully we announce soon that we're going to add tax. We just need to finalize certain things with him, but it looks like we're going to come full circle and fill in that, that last piece to provide all the financial business needs of a small company, and tax is a big one, right?
Yeah.
And along, tax and bookkeeping are kind of your starting point, and then you can kind of grow from there with the controller and the CFO, and then once you've really made it big, then you can do the
high wealth stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's just small business. Like, one of the things you're struggling with is like, okay, I've got my Excel spreadsheet, or maybe I've got QuickBooks, I've got some minor tools here. What do I need to keep track of? Do I need to keep every receipt in a folder? How do I separate out these things into different categories? What are the right categories to use? What should I be measuring, to get back to the KPIs, that's the fancy word, but what should I be measuring to know I'm actually making any progress versus just spending money? Because, as a startup, that's kind of what you feel like you're doing all the time. I'm not making money, I'm just spending money. How's this going to work out, So how do you help people kind of go through those questions? Because like with the little bitty startups, I guarantee you everybody's doing those kind of things, like, okay, how do I start,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of QuickBooks Online. I've been using it probably at least 20 years.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of it is very intuitive. It's easy to use. Unfortunately, it's not all that cheap, although they just did come out with the lowest level version, which is a little bit more affordable, in
Right.
my opinion. And so they have like a basic set of a chart of accounts
Okay.
that a company can start with, just a normal, travel, meals, marketing, advertising, all that stuff. And so, we just know it intuitively what the account should be just based on years of experience and stuff. And QuickBooks even makes it easy. You can upload your receipts onto there and just
Okay.
match your receipts. So that way you have everything stored, which makes it really, really simple. And tax accountants can then just go into your QuickBooks to extract the information that they need.
Right.
So, I kind of like that because it kind of keeps it all in a bubble.
Right.
And just so I can have access, the company can have access, the tax account can have access, and then you can just generate all kinds of reports. And that's kind of the nice thing about Scott and I working together. We have one client that we both work on,
Okay.
and so I'll generate specific reports that I know he needs to see to do his piece of it. And so it's been kind of nice. And, we didn't talk about that at all, but we actually started out, we worked together in internal audit for a Fortune 500 company up in Connecticut. And we dated there. And then we eventually got married and we went our separate ways in the accounting realm, him working up to CFO, me working up to controller. And so when we moved down here and Scott got laid off, he was like, we talked about starting a business, and
let's do it.
And it was like, the timing was right. And it was kind of cool to come. It's like full circle for us. It's like we started there and now we're there again. And with all the experience now behind us, whereas before, we were just, kids and internal auditors and, didn't have all the business experience. And so now we have all that experience, and he's gotten so much experience under his belt over the years while I was raising kids and stuff. And so it's just really cool to see, because I don't think most of the times you don't appreciate what your spouse does for a living, but I get to see it firsthand and I get to see his brain working, and it really blows my mind sometimes because he's just like brilliant, really, and I'm not just saying it because he's my husband. I mean, he really is brilliant at what he does. So it's been cool.
We're fortunate to have both of you here in the Low Country. It's nice when we have folks like you guys who really want to help other people. You're excited about it. You've got all this knowledge and you're willing to share it, which is awesome. That's really what it's all about around here. And I really enjoyed talking about this today, and I think I want to ask, it's like you guys have been you're kind of new to this particular business, but you've been in business for a long time. You've talked to a lot of companies. You're still talking to a lot of companies, helping them out. So, what would you tell the new entrepreneurs out there in the Low Country area? It's like, what advice would you have them?
Don't do it on your own. So a lot of companies try to do the finances and it's not necessarily their thing, or they are capable of doing it. But what it does is it takes away from doing what's really vital for their business to help it grow. Right. And right. A lot of the business owners are sales oriented. They all have their different talents, right? And a lot of times they're spending time like crazy, especially if you think about some of the established business. We've talked a lot about startups, but the established businesses, it takes away either from growing the business or it takes away from time with their family,
right? And
trying to have that work-life balance. And so if there is someone out there that can kind of help you, and then whether it's finance or whether it's some of the other disciplines that aren't your thing, or they are your thing and they're just taking too much time away from what you really want to be doing, there's other people that can do that for you. and that's what we're here there for.
I think too, the community down here, we're both originally from New York and then lived outside Chicago. And the community down here is very different. It is very relational. It is very like I'm used to cutthroat. I worked in Manhattan. I'm used to that cutthroat kind of mentality. There's not that here. I mean, even the people that are in the same sphere as us aren't looking to, steal away from us or anything like that. I actually there's a couple of women who have like startup businesses that they want to do the same stuff I'm doing. Yeah. And I'm meeting with them and kind of giving them, just kind of encouragement and some, advice and stuff along the way. Because we've really found that. I mean, we had so many people come around us right away, especially we went to 1 Million Cups and that's just such a great atmosphere because, I mean, these people all want business too to come out of new people, but it's really about helping one another and encouraging one another along the way. And I think that's so important because when the going gets tough and you get down and you want to quit, those are the people that are going to help you, lift your spirits that you don't quit and you see how, they stuck it out. And I just love that about here. And it's just so relational and I'm very much a relational person. And I think that's where it's kind of cool that Scott and I are working together because we bring the relational aspect and it is very relational down here. And so I just love that aspect of it. So it's been wonderful. I mean, we're not millionaires yet, but we're having fun and we're working hard and we're helping people. And that's what's important.
Hey, if you're getting to help people, that's better than all the money in the world, to be honest.
Amen.
Amen. And I think, I have a theory why some of the culture and the atmosphere down here is I think it's the ocean. I think, living near the ocean and, because a lot of people are boat folks, it's like, hey, there's always room for one more boat on the ocean. So, and
there's a book about that.
Really?
There's something about, it's called Blue something or other, but it's not everybody, but certain people have to live by the water because of what it does for them. And that was when we were picking out where to live, I needed to live within a certain distance of the ocean. So total believer in that.
Yeah, you get it. Well, this has been great, guys. We should do it again.
Thank you.
I've got lots of more controller and CFO questions now that I know a little bit more about what they do.
Okay. Yeah, we'd love to do it again.
That'd be awesome.
All right. Well, you guys have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
You, Bill.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Low Country Revolutionaries. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the fearless entrepreneurs making wave in Charleston's Chucktown Startups community. I'm Bill Bellot, and it's been an honor to share these inspiring stories with you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a spark of low country innovation. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.